Hi, my name's Robin Kelly, and I'd like to talk to you about the Session Drummer. The Session Drummer is the new drum synthesizer included inside of Sonar 6 Producer Edition. So let's go ahead and take a look. As you can see here, I have the Session Drummer already patched inside of this file. And why don't we take a quick tour of the user interface of the Session Drummer? Well, if you're familiar with Cakewalk synthesizers, you're going to find navigating the Session Drummer very easy and familiar. For a start, I have a program browser. So if I double-click, I can go ahead and open that. The program browser is where I can actually pick which style and drum kit I'd like to use. Once I pick the kit that I'd like, I can go ahead and pick the different MIDI patterns. It's already preloaded 8 of them onto the different cells that you're seeing here, so I can audition them, pick between the two, change the length of each pattern, and I can also choose if it loops or if it just plays as a one-shot. Below that, I can actually see a representation of what my different drum pads are displaying. What this means is I have my kick drum, my snare, my hat, my different toms as well. I can also audition my side stick or other types of snares that I have loaded in the kit. And then below that, I also have my output that I can control. I can have up to 8 stereo outputs in the Session Drummer. I also have mute, solo, volume, different panning controls, and tuning controls as well. One of the nice things about this pad that you're seeing here, where I can actually audition the snare drum, on this pad I can actually choose which different velocity I'd like to hear the snare drum triggered at as well. This is very handy if I'm working on a quiet part or a loud part, or I just want to see how the sample sounds. If I click on the lower part of the picture, it's a low velocity sample. Up top, it's a high velocity sample. If I click through the picture vertically, you'll hear the velocity scale. And as you can hear, the sample changes as well. That's because it is velocity sensitive. So as you can see, I can trigger my MIDI patterns directly from these cells. I can also trigger the different drum sounds using the mouse as well. Or of course, I can use my controller keyboard. One of the nice things is that the MIDI patterns are actually mapped to the lower registers of the keyboard. What this means is I can trigger the patterns, or on the higher register of the keyboard, I can actually go ahead and trigger the individual samples. So it's very user-friendly. So you can actually use the Session Drummer as a live performance tool. In addition, it's all general MIDI mapped, so if you do have general MIDI patterns, you can certainly use them with the Session Drummer. So I'm going to take my existing file and play along with it using the preset MIDI patterns. Using the Session Drummer, I can breathe new life into my existing projects by adding a live drum component to my songs. Let's go ahead and use Session Drummer in a new file. To do this, I'm going to open up a blank file, and I'm actually going to use a track template. Once you're familiar with Session Drummer, you're going to find track templates very handy. What this does is it actually allows you to set up a preset for both your panning and also your volumes and your effects and your EQs and all the different routings of your synthesizers, kind of like a preset on a keyboard. So what this means is that it's actually patched all of my appropriate audio outputs, created a MIDI track for me. It's also patched the Session Drummer, and in the mixing console, it's actually gone ahead and remembered all of my EQ settings, so I have a little bit more low end on my kick drum, a little crack on the snare drum, and I'm also bringing out the hi-hats, and it's also remembering my pan settings as well. Now if I wanted to add some more reverb to both my hi-hat and my toms, it's very easy to do. As you know, you just go ahead and do a click and drag with the control key held down, and you're automatically creating instances of the different reverbs. So let's go ahead and open up the Session Drummer, bring that in, move the synth rack out of the way. So here I've loaded up my program already, and I've got my different MIDI patterns. And this particular pattern I'd like to use in a song. So what I'd like to do is bring it into a track. I go ahead and click on the note icon and drag it down to my track, and it's actually created a groove clip. From here I can actually roll out the end of it, and I'm ready to go. At this point, I could go ahead and open up the piano roll view, re-edit it, or if I want to use the existing pattern, that's fine too. And I can go ahead and build my entire song. As you can see, the Session Drummer is an extremely powerful instrument with hundreds of samples and MIDI patterns included right out of the box. But that's not where it ends. You can create your own MIDI patterns, use them with the Session Drummer. You can create your own samples, use them with the Session Drummer. And if you'd like to purchase third-party libraries to use with it, you can do that as well. My name's Robin Kelly. Thank you for your time.